What is up everyone, my name is Jasper and in today's video I wanted to talk about the beauty site because there have been some developments. And if you saw my community post from a few days ago, you know that these are not positive developments. So for those of you that do not know this beauty site or my journey with the beauty site, I started this site in December 2018 and I built it up all the way to 250,000 page views a month. Then in December 2020, my site crashed. There was a core update going on and for the first week this website went by fine. There really weren't any changes. But suddenly overnight Google decided that every single article that was ranking number 1 no longer deserved to be there. So they went from trusting me completely because most of my articles, if not all, were ranking in the top 3 to just not trusting me at all anymore. So I lost basically every single one of my rankings. But because I had such a large volume of articles, this site was still putting in some decent numbers. Now there are a couple of videos on this channel where I talk about this core update hit and what it did to me and my portfolio. And honestly, safe to say, it really didn't do me any good. I lost motivation to work because I really just couldn't get myself going. And that led to 2021 being sort of a lost year where I really didn't put in the work that I should have. So in July 2021, I made the decision to just stop working on the site altogether. And that was a really good decision because it kind of freed myself from the beauty site. It was kind of just like dragging me down. So we're now nearly a year later and in May 2022 there was another core update. Now the core update didn't hit the beauty site, but it did hit my accessory site. It lost about 30% of its traffic, but then the core update rolled out and everything was finished. Or at least I thought so. Because on June 16th I suddenly woke up to seeing my site drop by a huge number. Then on June 17th it dropped even more, and as you can see in this Search Console graph, this is not a pretty site. In fact, you can actually kind of compare it to the drop in December 2020 and they're almost identical. Now I have no idea what's going on, there's no core update going on currently, but when we look at the SEMrush sensor, you can see that on June 15th and 16th there was more volatility than usual. So maybe that has something to do with this insane drop. Honestly, I don't really know. Now of course I do have some hunches on what may have happened, and the first one is of course that this is something algorithmic. As you can see, the volatility in the SERPs is a lot higher on those 2 days, and exactly at those 2 days my traffic started to drop. So maybe there's some correlation there. Now on the other hand, I did notice that I really haven't been working on the site for nearly an entire year. So no more articles are published there, no more content is getting updated. So maybe my competitors are just overtaking the couple of rankings that I still had left. That's something that definitely sounds plausible, but to be honest, I kind of went back and checked and there really weren't any major changes in the SERPs. Most of my articles were just still at the position that they used to be at. Which brings me to my last point, which is that I lost a couple of key rankings. Now, as I said, most of my articles dropped and aren't really on page 1 or are very low at page 1, but there were still a couple of articles that were ranking somewhat well, so let's just say the top 5 or something like that on Google. Maybe I just lost a couple of those key positions that were bringing in the bulk of my traffic. So what I did is I went back and looked at those articles, and to be fair, most of these articles are still ranking where I actually knew that they were ranking at. So once again, not really any major changes in the SERP, so I'm honestly not sure what's happening. Now when we look at Google Search Console again, my average position for this website used to be about 20, 21, maybe 22. Now after the drop on June 16, the average position actually shot up. So it went from 22 average position to an average position of 10. And that's really just, it kind of baffles me to see that my average position is increasing, but I'm just losing about 80% of my traffic once again. Now here's just a quick overview of my site so far. So the start is December 2018. Then you can see that incredible drop on December 2020. And now you can see the drop in June 2022 as well. So how does this impact me and my portfolio? So honestly, the December 2020 core update, it has really messed with me. As I mentioned, 2021 was kind of a lost year where I just couldn't get myself to work. But the situation back then was a lot different compared to the situation right now. Back then, this website was my only site, or at least the only one I was actually working on, and it was the site that was bringing in a lot of money. It was making me about $8,000 a month at the peak, and right after the peak the site crashed. So that was obviously a much more impactful situation than I'm currently in. Right now this site is still the main earner, or at least it used to be the main earner of my portfolio, bringing in about $1,000 every single month. Now with the traffic drop, I expect this to drop to about $200 to $300 a month, which is really not all that much anymore. But I think the main difference between these two drops is that I just haven't been involved in this site for almost a year. I quit working on the site in July 2021 and I just haven't looked back ever since. So I'm much less emotionally invested in this site than I was back then. So even though this drop, it will really hurt me financially, it hasn't done so personally. Other than that, I think the most impactful thing that I'm going to see in the next coming months is that my income is going to drop pretty drastically. Not only has my beauty site dropped by about 80% right now, and as I said, it will probably go to a monthly income of $200 to maybe $300 a month. The accessory site just got hit a few weeks prior. So that site got about a 30% haircut, and that will probably show in the income as well. Now we are in June and the June RPMs are pretty nice, but I do think that the traffic drop is definitely going to play a role. And when you combine the traffic drop on the accessory site and the beauty site, which are my main two websites, these really are the largest ones in my portfolio and they're really the only ones that make actual money. So when these two drop, when you combine that, I think the next income reports are going to show some much lower numbers. Now where this has an impact on me and my portfolio is I might just need to look for a short-term solution to get some more money. Maybe I need a job, maybe I need to do some freelance work, maybe I should start a service. I've been thinking about making video ads for you guys, something like that. But I may be in need of some extra money in the short term. In the long term, I honestly really don't care all that much about this site getting hit once again. This site was no longer a part of my strategy and I no longer really saw it as one of the staples in my portfolio. So honestly, there's no changes there. But with the lowered income, of course, I can outsource a lot less. And that is something I think that will hurt me in the future. Because losing about $700 a month that I could have outsourced into more articles, that is going to sting. So that leaves me at one thing, and that is what am I going to do from here? So the first option is to continue doing what I have been doing for nearly an entire year now, and that is to just do nothing on this website. I always left this site alone because it was still earning me a lot of money. If I were to work on this website, I would probably get drained mentally pretty fast again. So this website was always just there. It was a nice earner in my portfolio. It didn't require any work and maybe I'll just keep it that way. Now the main issue with that is that this site used to make $1,000 a month and now it maybe makes about $200, maybe $300 a month, which is a lot less exciting than the 1,000. Honestly, this is still a nice extra bit of money. Of course, $200 to $300 for a website is really nice, but considering there's 400 articles on there, there's not even $1 per article per month anymore. It is really not performing well. But the extra income is still great. It is very small, but honestly, who can complain about an extra couple of $100 every month? Now that is the first option and I think there's three options I can go with. The first one of course is to just leave it be and keep going with this website the way I've been doing it for an entire year now. Now the second option is a little more interesting I think, which is to sell the site. Now honestly, selling this site is something that I could probably do. To be fair, I did get a couple of buyers already that have contacted me even after I showed that this site took another dip in traffic. So there is definitely some potential for selling this website. And now the main issue here is that these buyers are not willing to pay for potential value. So I think that if someone is really going to put in the work, this site could maybe be turned around, maybe not to the peak numbers, but it definitely could be turned around to some extent. Now this is something that a buyer is not going to care about because they want to buy at current value, not at potential value. So where I think this site could maybe get back to $1,000 a month, these people would only buy it for the value that it's currently at, which is about $250 a month. Now if you take the multiple of 40, that means 40 times 250 is $10,000. So that's the current value of the site, and $10,000 is of course a really nice chunk of money. I am not so sure if that's the right choice to go with. And the main reason I say that is because, as I mentioned, I already got a couple of people reaching out that they wanted to take the site off my hands right after I posted my community post. Now if this tells me one thing, is that there's maybe potential to turn this site back around, which is the third option. So the third option is turning this site around, or at least trying to. And honestly, this is something I have been thinking about for a long time. I got a couple of comments a couple of weeks ago that were telling me that the site is performing very consistently still and maybe it is time to just try and turn it around and get it to grow again. Now of course the consistency argument can be thrown out of the window right now because we just experienced another 80% drop. But honestly, there's still a lot of content on the site and a lot of content that I think is still pretty good. I mean, this is a topic I was really passionate about. I actually pulled my heart and soul into this website and I actually wrote articles that were about things that I really liked. So I think the quality of the content is still pretty good, or at least decently enough to rank decently well. But I think I need to make some changes before any of the articles are actually going to rank again. Now, just as a disclaimer, I have no idea how to actually fix this website. I got a lot of people reaching out with tips and tricks that I could use to kind of try to revive this website. But honestly, this is not my area of expertise. So here are a few things that I thought of that maybe could nudge this website in the right direction again. So the first one has to do with the content itself. Now, I did say that the content is good, but I wrote the content in a very objective way. And I think an objective article that is talking about products that I'm recommending may not be the best way to go. So I think personalizing the content and taking out a lot of the factual things and replacing them with my own opinion and using the word I and me a lot more will maybe have an impact on how the content is perceived. I was also thinking of just straight up removing all of the affiliate links, so no more affiliate links to Amazon whatsoever. Maybe this will help, and to be fair, I honestly don't really care about removing all of these links, because even at the peak, this site was still earning about 80% of the income from ads. So even though pretty much every single article was focused around a brand or a product or something like that, best X for Y content, most of the money was still coming from ads anyway. So maybe it's time to just take a look at all of the 400 plus articles and remove every single affiliate link. And lastly, I wanted to touch on one major change that maybe will have a positive impact, and that's something that a lot of you guys actually recommended, and it is to just get a new domain and redirect everything into that one. This is something that I honestly have no experience with, but I hear a lot of good things about. I actually read something from someone that makes all of these spammy AI sites, and the way that they do it is if their one AI site gets hurt, they just redirect it all over to a new domain, and that will just climb once again as if nothing has happened at all. So I have genuine content, no AI content whatsoever. I think 95%, if not more, of the articles have all been written by me for that website. So maybe just redirecting them over to a brand new domain or an H domain, something like that, maybe that will have a positive impact on the website. Now lastly, I also maybe am looking to give this website a makeover. It's currently not the prettiest website out there. Maybe I can make it look a lot more appealing. After all, it is a beauty website, and if that website isn't looking the best, maybe that will deter some people, and maybe Google sees that and sees it as a negative factor. So those are a couple of things that I thought of that maybe could turn the site around. But honestly, I would be super interested to hear if any of you guys also have any suggestions. Now, with what option I'm going to go with, selling the site, leaving it be, or trying to revive it, I am not sure yet. Honestly, most of my focus is currently spent on the case study website and the accessory website, and I'm not sure if I want to change that and spend more time on a website that may not come back at all. So maybe if there's some free time up ahead, I will give this a look. Honestly, so far I am not sure which option I'm going to go with. I'm leaning towards option 1, so that's the one where I'm just leaving it be and letting it earn me money while I'm not working on it. And from there I can decide whether I want to try to revive it or just sell it and be done with it. Anyway, that is something I'm going to think about. That is all for today's video though. Honestly, this is more of an update on the beauty side. It's honestly just a weird situation, and I never expected to see another 80% drop after the first one happened. This is something I've never really seen before, so I hope you guys at least somewhat enjoyed the video. Maybe you've had some takeaways here and there. But I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!